Hi everyone, welcome to our daily blog this week, and it's very exciting news. We've actually got there to the birth of Jesus, which is what we're going to be looking at this week, and it's been a long journey to get here after spending 4 or 5 weeks now looking at the whole stories around Christmas. Eventually we get here to the birth of Jesus himself, and I love this picture of Jesus coming into the world. And yet when we look at the story biblically, we find that actually it's a little bit of an anticlimax. There's actually only 2 verses in Matthew's Gospel and about 20 verses in Luke's Gospel that talk about the birth of Jesus himself. And those verses are also devoid of so many of the details and so much of the story that we know and love. Much has then had to be made by those who have written nativity plays and other plays to try and help us to understand the story. And so as we journey through this week, some of the things that we know and love may indeed we find weren't quite the way we thought they were, but more about that later in the week. For today, we hold on to the fact that the journey we've taken thus far, where we've looked at Jesus's history in terms of his divinity and also his humanity, the way he's both king and priest, an anointed one, the way he brings it all together in this wonderful moment of the Son of God becoming human, the Word made flesh, so that the world can never be the same again. Well, this is the point of what we're going to explore this week. And we may take all that and we take that into the story of Matthew's birth of Jesus, which is only 2 verses. We find both there and also in Luke this strange saying, "But Joseph had no marital relations with Mary until she had borne a son." Immediately we might think, well, that harks back to what we have already talked about with the virgin birth and with the Annunciation and the visit of the Archangel Gabriel. But in this context, with the real birth of Jesus before us, what we can find strangely over history is that bit by bit, we sort of push Mary off into being this super person, somebody who was so serene, so other, so different to us, somebody who was, after all, so pure, the Mother of God. And by the Middle Ages, people were actually talking in certain parts of the church about her being herself a virgin, having a virgin birth, and indeed remaining a virgin throughout the whole of her life. And yet history shows us that probably Jesus had a half-brother, at least one, called James, who was to become the leader of the church in Jerusalem. For me personally, I much prefer this picture of Mary, taken from the BBC version of the Nativity, something I try and watch each Christmas. Mary who's passionate, gritty, determined, who's so courageous, who looks out into the world with such a passion for the love of her life and is willing to risk everything for her faith because she knows God has called her. And at such a young age, she's an inspiration to me. And as she then goes through this journey of giving birth to the Son of God into the world. In other words, a very real Mary, and yet also extraordinary in the process, who went through all the blood and the sweat and the tears of that so many mothers go through, risking everything, and also with the joy of everything as that person comes into the world. When we take all that and apply it to the story of Jesus himself, of course Jesus goes from baby to young man to manhood himself, and we then discover not just a Jesus of a plaster cast Jesus, but a Jesus who laughs and loves, who calls people, who cries with people, shares their pain, brings healing to people, who wonderfully prays passionately and faithfully, who indeed will die for love of your love and my love and the world's love. Holding Jesus at arm's length can lead us into all sorts of strange but understandable places. Discovering Jesus close to us through our own humanity, realizing that he as divine, embraces our real world, our real lives, enables him to come very close. And that's why, for me, that phrase, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, it's not just something we know, it's something daily we need to challenge ourselves to let become real. That the real life you're going through at the moment, the real life I'm going through, we're going through as a nation and as a world, Jesus passionately cares about that and wishes to be born in amongst it all, with it all, in the very straw of our lives. This is what we're going to look at this week, and I find it so exciting. I love Christmas. I love the birth of Jesus, because the one who has come into the world, who's changed my life, I hope has changed your life, actually is born in our very midst. Not just 2,000 years ago, but today and every day. So I hope you have a good week, and I hope you enjoy sharing the birth of Jesus together. God bless.